Hey, my name is Jud Savelle. I'm with Bishop Clean Care in Albany, Georgia, and our family has been in the cleaning and restoration business since 1952. And we also happen to live in an area that is one of the hardest hit per capita for COVID-19 in the United States today. And so I'm very proud of our local residents, businesses, and leaders who have been working hard to flatten the curve in our area and hopefully stop this disease from spreading. But in the next few weeks, I know many people are excited about the potential of getting back to life as normal as the governor and local leaders begin to give recommendations for getting back to work and to back in the workplace. And so I think it's important as we do that we not only follow the social distancing guidelines very carefully, but that we continue to clean and disinfect very diligently. So we'd just like to give our perspective on disinfecting and hopefully help some of you continue to kill off this virus in our area and anywhere else you may be. Okay, let's talk disinfectants. So when you're using a disinfectant, your goal is to kill the virus, but you also have to make sure you're not harming yourself. So safety is very important to start with, and every disinfectant has different safety labels and instructions. So the first thing I want to say is always read the label. Disinfectants are meant to kill bacteria and viruses and any pathogen, but that also includes good bacteria that could be on your skin or in your lungs. So you want to follow those guidelines very carefully. So that may include even downloading and reading the safety data sheet on any disinfectant you're using, but definitely reading the label. These disinfectants right here are ones that we use, but they are all synthetically derived. They use quaternary ammonium chlorides, which are great for disinfecting, but they do have safety precautions, and they all have PPE guidance, generally including gloves and occasionally respiratory protection. These right here are botanical disinfectants. We love these because they have a very low toxicity rating and are very safe because they're derived from plants. They're also very, very fast at killing viruses. They're just hard to come by and they're very expensive. The one we don't like is bleach. It's extremely effective at killing the virus, but if you look, there's warning labels all over this bleach because it is a skin irritant, a lung irritant, an eye irritant, and it also damages metals and fabrics. And so bleach should be a last resort because it does have so many secondary problems, which we'll even talk about later. Also want to make sure I mention that you check EPA registrations because that's very important in helping to determine if the disinfectant you're using is actually capable of killing coronavirus. So look for an EPA registration and also check with the manufacturer or formulator of the disinfectant to see what they have to say about coronavirus. All right, so as we talk about disinfecting, it's very important that we use the right terms because right now everyone's using the terms sanitize, disinfect, and sterilize interchangeably, but they mean different things. This right here is our janitorial cart that we use in our building and all our customers' buildings to keep their buildings sanitized or clean even before COVID-19. So sanitize means to clean a surface or to reduce or remove germs. It does not mean to kill germs, pathogens, or viruses. That's what disinfecting is. So when you sanitize something, you're simply cleaning it. When you disinfect it, you're using a disinfectant to apply to a surface so that the chemical itself can kill the virus. So be sure when you're talking about sanitizing and disinfecting, you're using the terms correctly. I'll mention real quick that to sterilize something means to completely kill and remove all germs and bacteria from the surface, which is typically done in a hospital setting or a scientific lab. Very difficult for the layman to actually sterilize a surface. We're trying to sanitize or disinfect. Okay, so let's talk about what PPE we should use when we're disinfecting. Most formulators are always going to recommend that you wear gloves. It's just a best practice if you're doing any type of cleaning. In today's environment, when we're trying to maintain social distancing rules, if you're going to be cleaning and disinfecting when other people are in the office and you're around their workstations, you should still wear a mask. You don't necessarily need the mask to protect yourself from the disinfectant, but we are trying to protect ourselves from others. The best case scenario is if you're cleaning your workstation, there shouldn't be anyone there anyway, so that you can properly clean and apply the disinfectant. Wherever we disinfect, we want to focus on touch points. So in the office environment, we're looking for places that people are putting their hands, and it could be anywhere. And I'm going to use this example of this desk to do a little bit of cleaning and show you the proper procedure. One thing to keep in mind first is what you're using to clean with. You'll need some towels. Don't just rely on paper towels. They don't absorb very much. The best type of towel is microfiber if you can get your hands on it. Of course, cotton is acceptable as well. We like microfiber and we use them as much as we can. The first thing you want to do when you disinfect any surface or environment is to clean it first. The disinfectant we use most also doubles as a cleaner. This is not true for all disinfectants. If a disinfectant does not have a surfactant in it, it's not doubled as a cleaner, and you may have to pre-clean with a different cleaning agent. So always again, read your label instructions to make sure that your disinfectant is in fact a cleaner as well. Because the most important thing is before disinfecting is to clean the surface. Any grime or fingerprints or germs or soil will create a barrier between the virus and the disinfectant, and it may not be able to properly kill the virus. So cleaning is extremely important, and you need the proper tools to do so. One more important item on your label is going to be the contact time required to kill the virus. Most disinfectants are going to tell you to leave the surface wet for a minimum of 10 minutes in order to kill all bacteria, virus, and pathogens that may be on the surface. Viruses tend to be a little more delicate and sometimes are killed faster, but just to be safe, we recommend leaving the surface wet for 10 minutes. Now I'm going to show you a few important procedures as you actually go about cleaning a desk like this. When cleaning a surface, it's important to leave your nozzle on mist. Don't have it spraying like this. Instead, you want it to create a fine mist. The first thing you want to do is apply it to your towel. You don't necessarily need to apply it heavy to the surfaces just yet. That way you have a nice wet cleaning product that you can now clean the surfaces and again remove the soil and the grime from those surfaces. And this is going to be pretty much everything on this desk that I'm going to clean. You want to use a folding method so that you get maximum usage out of the towel, and you can use multiple sides of the towel to clean. I'm going to clean electronic surfaces because I know I'm using a disinfectant that has been rated as safe for most surfaces and will not damage or discolor them. So I'm not afraid to clean my computer or my screen or anything around here. I'm getting it all nice and clean before I disinfect. Now I want you to notice I'm not going to clean this coffee mug. This disinfectant is not approved for food grade surfaces. If used on food grade surfaces, it will kill the virus, but it must be then cleaned again with a food grade sanitizer. So therefore, I'm not actually going to apply it to my coffee mug. Instead, I'll take that to the kitchen and wash it myself. Once I've pre-cleaned the surfaces, now I'm ready to disinfect. Again, you need 10 minutes of wet contact time. If I didn't leave these surfaces wet enough, the disinfectant's not actually killing anything, although I've cleaned it. The next thing I want to do, using that fine mist setting, is I want to just leave a nice mist on all surfaces, including my phone, front and back, the desk. That way these surfaces will stay wet and the disinfectant has enough time to kill any virus particles that were left behind following my cleaning. So when you're disinfecting, you're going after touch points. Where have people placed their hands? Maybe after they coughed or sneezed. Where has that germ spread to? So it's very important that you look all around the office environment for those touch points. In this environment alone, I've already counted 27 touch points that need to be cleaned and disinfected. And that includes, of course, the desk, this door handle, but there's also some ones that are less obvious. How about the people that come in your office and lean up against the door casing like this? They've now put their hand, so you've got to clean everywhere. Besides just the door handle, people tend to catch the edge of the door to open it or close it. So don't forget those items as well. Every desk drawer, every contact point on the desk needs to be cleaned. Any visitors in the office have used this table and these chairs, those need to be cleaned as well. And how about when opening and closing the blinds? So just like in the previous video where we cleaned everything first, we then go back and apply a fine mist of disinfectant. In just what you see on your screen here, I've counted 30 touch points. How about this scene? I count 41 touch points. In this small area, I count 16 touch points. And don't forget your operational area, where I've counted 23 touch points. I want to continue to reiterate the importance of reading your label instructions. Many of our best disinfectants contain ammonium chlorides, which are not necessarily safe to ingest after they've been used in a food-grade environment. So while they may be great disinfectants and cleaners, they may be leaving a residue behind that then needs to be cleaned off with a food-grade sanitizer. So read your label instructions to see if they recommend that in restaurant settings, you use a food-grade sanitizer to clean after you've disinfected. This is another reason to avoid bleach. You may be using bleach in your restaurant environment, which again is great at killing the virus, but it's not something you want to leave behind on food prep surfaces. So you want to make sure whatever disinfectant you're using, if it says it must be cleaned from food contact surfaces after the disinfection process, please be sure to do that with a food-grade sanitizer. And let's not forget, the same label instructions may apply to a child-occupied facility. So if you're running a daycare or even a church that has a nursery, you want to be sure that you're leaving surfaces free of any disinfectant residue that may be harmful to children that might put these items in their mouth and ingest chlorides. So again, read the label instructions, keep your restaurant safe and your child-occupied facilities safe. I want to take a quick minute to talk about disinfecting wipes and disinfecting aerosols. We get a lot of questions from customers about the wipes. And I just want to say again, the most important thing is to read the label instructions to find out if you're disinfecting properly when using a wipe. The most important thing about the wipes is to make sure they're moist. If you find an old box of wipes and they're dry, they're not going to disinfect. Because again, you have to be able to clean and apply a disinfectant in a way that leaves the surface wet for 10 minutes. So now I have left the surface nice and wet and disinfecting is occurring. If I'm using a dry towel that I've used for too long, then I'm probably just using a dry dust wipe. In regards to aerosols, the same principles apply. You need to use a nice pre-clean surface. You need to apply the disinfectant and let it stay wet for 10 minutes. Do not use aerosol disinfectants as a deodorizer and spray into the air, because that may be inhaled by you and can cause harm. I have two different products here by Lysol. One says a disinfectant spray and the other says a sanitizing spray. Again, I want to read those label directions carefully to make sure I'm disinfecting. It says a sanitizing spray, which makes me think it's only going to clean. But if I read carefully, it does say here that it can be used for surface disinfection if the label directions are followed carefully. So make sure whatever you buy, that you're reading the label and applying it correctly. To wrap up, I want to talk about fogging disinfectants. And the first thing I want to say is fogging a disinfectant is not a replacement for proper cleaning and touch point cleaning and application of disinfectants. Most formulators that say their product can be used for fogging will very clearly state that the surfaces must be cleaned ahead of time before fogging is used. Fogging is a great addition to a good cleaning protocol, but again, you have to clean before you fog. These are two products we use for fogging, just like we've already talked about. One is a synthetic disinfectant that uses chlorides. The other is a botanical disinfectant. The difference between the two is the PPE that I need to wear. So when I fog a synthetic disinfectant, it can be a skin irritant, an eye irritant, and a lung irritant. And I need to be very careful that I protect myself, including covering my skin, using an approved respirator, N95 or better, and using eye protection as well. When I use a botanical disinfectant, I don't have to be as concerned about the contact with my skin, but there still is a threshold that I am surpassing in regards to the safety to my lungs and eyes. So I still want to use some type of respiratory protection and eye protection even when fogging a botanical disinfectant. It's also very important that after fogging that you leave the facility unoccupied for up to 2 hours or maybe more. Again, read your label instructions to see first if your disinfectant is approved for fogging and what the formulator recommends to do during fogging and after. A lot of business owners are beginning to fog themselves, and so I highly recommend that you study up on the proper methods for fogging to make sure you're doing it correctly and keeping you and your staff and customers safe. Again, if you're fogging in a restaurant or child-occupied facility, You really want to make sure that you're reading those label directions and going back and cleaning the disinfectant off of those surfaces if it's required. Good cleaning and disinfecting is just one of the ways we're going to fight this outbreak together in our community and around the world. So in addition to that, please continue to social distance and follow the advice of your federal, state, and local leaders. Take your time getting back to work or reopening your business, and as you do so, we hope that the tips we provided can help you remain clean and healthy. Be safe.